In July, we're working on getting down to the foundational ideas of metaphysics and our relationship with God and the universe. So we started out on the 2nd talking about God and the universe and understanding God and ourselves as children of God. God is, I am, the unchanging nature of God expressed through the ever-evolving presence of man on this planet. God is, I am. We talked about living in love, we talked about including God in our mind and thoughts, and we talked about directing God's force and power. And I know that we went forward that day and used this energy for the week of realizing how powerful we are. Yes, we did. And then last week, Patrick spoke about how different are we. And the really only differences that we are as children of God is our choices. We get to choose the experiences that we have. But the innate uniqueness is a part of God, and we are a part of God. We are at that level, one with one another. Namaste, when I am in the Christ of me, I can behold the Christ in you, and we are one. When I am in the Christ of me, I can behold the Christ of you, and we are one. But we make choices and we have uniqueness, unique experiences, but in reality, the differences are just our experiences. Just our experiences. So, today I want to talk about the idea of the law of correspondence. As we're looking at the I am, we're looking at the creative energy of God, because we're really talking about how do we use all of this energy to create what we want, to use our energy to create choices and experiences that we really want to have. So I wanted to open with just reading to you the definition of the law of correspondence, because it's not one that we talk about a lot, right? So it is. Every desire or question and its answer or result are made of the same substance and are therefore simultaneously available. So every question that you might have, the answer is of the same energy or substance as that question. Every desire you might have, the result of that desire is of the same energy or substance of the desire. Therefore, readily available. They are the same thing. So with this in mind, we could easily move into a space of instant manifestation, could we not? Thank goodness that we don't. But we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, the law is functioning. That law actually is functioning at the highest level. But let's look at how we have been using the law. Okay? When you ask questions about your life, let's just talk about the Q&A of it. When you ask questions about your life, how often are they the same question? And how often are they questions that lead you to what you already know and already have experienced? Do you realize that when you come in for metaphysical counseling, half of that counseling is just trying to get you to ask a different question about yourself? If you ask a different question about yourself, you will find different information that is already there, different experiences, different opportunities that are already there, just by shifting the way you look at you. How many of you have gotten an aha? Oh my God, it's an epiphany, aha! And your spouse or friends go, I've been telling you that for years. But you couldn't hear them. You couldn't hear them, but something got into you to look at you differently, and then it's revealed. It's right there. The question and the answer are all there for you to experience new. So, most of us walk around the world, and these are our questions. How in the world did that happen to so-and-so? Why is our world going this direction? What was he thinking? Why is this happening in this situation? Now, what do you think you're calling for? You're calling forth the experiences of others. You're calling forth the answers which offer an experience that you wouldn't normally create, an experience that you really don't need. how often do we do that? I'll watch the news with Patrick and I will say, not often, but when we do, because I'm always saying, how is that possible? And then I have to immediately say, I really don't want to know. Honestly, I don't want to know. It happened, I'm going to send love, but I don't want to know. So realize how much of our power is actually invested in understanding that which would not be beneficial to us necessarily. So, one of the most freeing concepts that I found when I started metaphysics a long time ago was this. I am not responsible for the choices of others. I am 100% and completely responsible for my choices. Now that's the antithesis of what the world teaches you, isn't it? They teach you that you are responsible for the choices of others. They teach you that you need to get in there and change them. You need to make things different for someone else. But when you do that, your experiences becomes theirs. Whereas if we look at our choices and our responsibility to those choices, how creative can we be? How free can we be? And then if we are free and creative, what are we telling the whole world to be? Be free and creative. If I live my life creatively and doing what I need to do, I'm encouraging all of you to do the same. And there is no judgment about what you choose, because my eye is on my feet. My eye is on what I'm doing. All right. How did that happen? I don't want to know unless they are literally placed on my path. And this is the second aspect of this little thing. When someone appears before me on my path, they are on my path, and they are not what I would create for me. What do? Do you go, let me fix them? Oh, God brought me a project. Oh, they're on my path. Now I must change them to be like me because they're on my path. You see? Your question could simply be, Father, Mother, God, what should I do here? What am I to do here? They're obviously on my path for a reason. Many years ago, I was counseling a young lady that I didn't know, and she was doing something a lot, self-degradation, in front of me. That was her dialogue. And I said to her, you could not, by right of vibration, be sitting in front of me and not be willing to change.
And not be
willing to change. And willing to look at yourself differently. And that was the highest thing I could give her. But I said, you have to be good to be sitting there. You have to have some spark of divinity and knowledge of self to be sitting there. To have the courage to sit in front of me. You have to have that. She wasn't ready, but it's okay. She was on my path. Now, I'm not always that direct and charged, but... I'm getting outvoted here. But just know that I am asking God what I'm to say. Show me what to do here. Okay. So, the question is, how do I work with this? And if I am aware of my path and where I am going, now I can have greater ideas and control over what I want to call forth, what desires I want to call forth, what questions I want to ask. So, we know and we're beginning to say, do not ask always about another because you are asking to walk their journey. So can we agree? Okay, all right. The one place that you can always ask about somebody else is with God. Turning to God and saying to Father, Mother God, this disturbs me tremendously. I'm deeply disturbed within about what I'm witnessing. Give me spiritual understanding that I need. Give me spiritual understanding. That question alone will open up a dialogue with Spirit to unhook whatever it is that you're attached to, because something's bothering you in your spirit that attaches you, that you're disturbed by someone's behavior. Grant me spiritual understanding so I can free them. Do you see how simple that is? All right. When I was little, you all know that I was raised in a 50s household. There was one car, and my mother did not work. And divorce was, absolutely not going to happen. And my father, I love my father dearly, but he has a temper, and he was so unhappy. If I knew him now as a young man, he would be counseling with me quite a bit. But he was so desperately unhappy, and he had no way to express it other than through anger. And I would pray for divorce. Oh God, please, please, please let my mother get a divorce. Oh, please, please, that would be so good. And it never happened, it didn't happen. And then I would say, God, why is she not going to get a divorce? And you know what I got to see when I asked that question? All of her fears. Well, she's afraid of this, well, she's afraid of that, well, she's afraid of this, well, she's afraid of that. And that's what I asked my entire life. Why will she not divorce him? And I got continual understanding of what she's afraid of. Well, I was 33 years old, and I was coming back from my Rohan training, my 2-hour drive back, and I changed my question. I'm 33, I am now divorced, I have a young son, and it still bothers me that they're married. I love them both, but it still bothered me. So I'm driving home, and I'll never forget this. I changed my question. I said, Father, Mother God, why is she there? What is she learning? Why did she pick him? And boom, boom, boom. I got this most beautiful answer. It was amazing. Words put together in concepts I could not have articulated myself. And it just started coming. And I'm driving. Of course, this is back in the day, no cell phones, ancient history. I'm driving, and I'm trying to hold on to it as long as I can because it's a straight haul, and I don't have time to stop and write. So I'm driving. I get to my house. I rush into the door, and I write down what Spirit told me. Oh my God, that is amazing. So she's learning this, this, and this. Oh my God, that makes total sense. I put it in my drawer because I never wanted to forget it because I couldn't put those words together. I couldn't find it ever again. I knew exactly where I put it. I couldn't find it. But I was at peace with them staying together. And they stayed together 50 years. But do you see, by changing my question, I got an answer that wasn't mine to hold on to because I was too involved in the relationship. So it wasn't mine to hold on to. But it was enough to see her soul, why she chose that. And for me to let go that hook that I had held on to for 33 years. Just by changing the question. Are you guys getting insights? Okay. All right. So, desires. Let's move to desires now. So we've been talking about desires, our questions. Let's move to desires because the law of correspondence is the same thing. Take a breath. I want you to build a different file. New file. Same consciousness, new file. Desires. When you desire something, do you ever say, is it mine or is it someone else's? How often do you desire something that someone else wants, or desire something that someone else has and now you want one like it? I want a car like yours. I didn't even want a car like yours until I saw your car. And I want a car like yours. And we're in this media campaign of consumerism where we are given desires. So we have to really be very clear. Is this really what I want? And so if I want a car and I'm inspired by your car, I might come back to myself and say, okay, I want something beautiful, spiritual, I feel great in, fancy smancy to the max, this color, that color, blah, 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 blah. That's what I want. Now I'm clear on what I want. I was inspired by your car, but now I'm clear on what I want. Do you see the difference? Okay. So once you have your desire, you are now creating an experience that is going to be yours. If I get Vince's car, every time I get in my car that mimics Vince, who am I going to think about? Yes. It's not going to be my car. So, all right. This is what Jesus teaches in the Aquarium. This is familiar. This is 137. And everyone has heard this concept. Jesus says, ask firmly and you will receive. Seek trustingly and you will find. Knock earnestly and the door will open. The answer to your prayer may not appear in fullness in a little time, but be not discouraged. Pray again and again, for God will hear. Okay? So we all know ask, seek, and find, right? Heard that from little children. Ask, seek, and knock, and the door will be opened. All right. When he talks about the answer may not come in a little time, he does a parable about a woman who is a widow who is trying to go before a judge to get the judge to rule in her favor. Y'all may not know this parable. But she goes to the judge and says, "Judge, I'm being mistreated." And the judge goes, "Get her out of my court." And then the next day, "Judge, I'm being mistreated. Get her out of my court." Well, this goes on every day, or every time the judge is there, for a long period of time, until the Bible says she literally wore him down. And he said, "Please give her what she wants. She's driving me crazy." And so she got her little reward and she left. What we don't really see clearly in the parable when we're reading it is the fact that during the time that she is going to the judge every day, she's demonstrating persistence. And she's also evolving her consciousness so she can literally receive what she's asking for. I really need this judge. I really need this. The first time she shows up. Oh, maybe her knees were knocking. Maybe she was afraid. I really need this judge. But I don't know if you're really going to give it to me. Maybe if you'll have mercy on me, maybe you'll favor me. I'm not really sure. Nope, get her out of here. Oh, okay. All right, well, let me try that again. Maybe I'll be more of a victim this time. I'm such a victim, Judge, please. Get her out of here. Okay, that didn't work. All right, let me start changing. Let me start owning. Wait a minute, Judge. Hey, Judge, I deserve this. Over time, she evolved to the space to receive what she had asked for. Do you see? And most of us have that, don't we? We see a desire, we want it, and then we don't quite have the capacity to fully receive it because we've got all these other ideas and beliefs that are working within us. If we got what we could receive at the first asking, it would be a little bit mixed, wouldn't it? All right. I remember when I was, again, young. You always remember the first time, don't you? The first time you have all these experiences. So I had gotten a divorce, and I had to sell the house. David was 2. And so we're trying to sell the house, and the house is on the market. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm 32 years old. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I put it on the market. Nobody's buying the house. Nobody's buying the house. And I had this, I was meditating and talking to God and asking for the perfect buyer, perfect buyer. No one came. About 3 weeks. I mean, that's forever when you're trying to move. And so I started to get obsessed with Arizona. Arizona was in my brain. I was dreaming about it. I kept asking people, "Do you know somebody who lives in Arizona? I've got to go to Arizona. I don't know why. I'm going to take my baby. We've got to go to Arizona. We have not a nickel. I need to stay with one of your friends. I've got to get to Arizona." And this was overwhelming. It was all-consuming. Every spare thought was about Arizona. Out of nowhere. I have no affinity for Arizona prior to this. This lasted a couple of weeks, and then it just stopped. And the next week, someone knocked at my door to look at my house, and where were they moving from? Arizona. They had just gotten into the city, and they were moving from Arizona. And when I saw them, I went, "I've been talking to you guys for a month." I was awake enough to know what had been happening. I had reached out in my desperation because I didn't know God was going to send me somebody. And we've been negotiating and dialoguing this whole time. And it closed instantly and we moved on. I had to be prepared to receive whatever groundwork I had to be doing in the ethers, I had to do. And it happened. And I was also being taught, "You want to see the process, baby girl? We'll show you the process. Get your tail out to Arizona. We'll show you what's happening. They're your people. They're not here yet. They're not here yet." Sometimes there's a little bit of a space between the desire and the fulfillment, but that's because you have to prepare and the person who's participating is preparing as well. Do you see? So all of this was such an important event, and I seek to remember it in those moments. When it's been 3 weeks. Do I always remember it? Sometimes I still want that instant manifestation, you know? All right. So Spirit gave me a vision I'd like to share. They showed me water, and I know very little about it, but they showed me the beautiful clear water that flows from the mountains that we can drink. It's fresh water. Then they showed me the ocean, and they were showing me how when they come together, most of the times it's okay how the water moves into the ocean, but sometimes it comes into a state they call brackish, where the salt water and the fresh water get a little churny. What normally happens, I think the fresh water flows above, the salt water flows below, and there's normally a little harmony before they mix. And I was actually an adult before I'd even seen brackish water, you know. I had not even heard the term before. And it's an interesting mix because of the fresh and the salt coming together. It creates a space where unusual things can grow, new things can grow that aren't necessarily one or the other. So it's a good thing for our ecosystem. And Spirit said this: if you think about that beautiful fresh water being your spirit, your spiritual nature, and you think about the ocean being filled with all the salt and all the opportunities and all the wonderful things of your human experience, all the joys and opportunities that you have, all that wonderful life in that beautiful body of ocean, and then you think when that dream from Spirit's coming down, and when it hits the human experience, there is always that space where the energy of the pure desire mixes with the human condition. And sometimes it gets a little brackish. And sometimes it gets a little cattywampus when the desire actually takes manifest. The ideal of it coming through into the human. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So a desire can be born in a very pristine state, but then it has to move through what we currently are. So the salt conditions are the current beliefs, and they're also the current yeah buts. And we all still have yeah buts. Mm-hmm. You know, oh, Cindy, why don't you? Yeah, but. We do it all the time. You could do that. Yeah, but. Those are all of the things that we've curved around ourselves as limitations. Yes, I absolutely could, but instead of saying, that's absolutely an option. I don't think I'm going to choose it. That's absolutely an option for me. Do you see? Now I'm in choice. I'm not going back to what I've already thought. I'm actually considering it as an option. Yeah, not going to happen. And now I'm clear. So the salt water, the human condition, holds all of these things. But in that, there can be new growth. Perhaps that pristine, pure thought has to come in a slightly different way. Do you understand? You know, maybe the dream for a huge dynamic ministry of thousands and thousands and thousands of people and just churches everywhere. A Pentecost is just so pure and wonderful and lovely and divine idea coming through. And then it hits the reality of human consciousness. Yeah, that's cool. I'll see you, maybe in a month or two. This is personal responsibility. I want God to save me. No, thank you. You know, who knows? Maybe this right here, what we have today, is the space of perfect integration of this huge dream and the human space. Maybe in this space we can hold it at such a level that it can actually impact our lives without needing to be on every airway everywhere in the world. You know? And your dreams are the same. You know, maybe there is a mix where the pure ideal comes through and it manifests just slightly differently. Just slightly differently. All right. If we hold the divine in the desire as it moves through our human lives, let me say that again. If we hold the divine in the desire as it moves through our human lives, it will mold to your will perfectly. To your world, not your will. Cancel that. If we hold the divine in the desire, it will mold to your world But our desires, when they're coming from Spirit, they're huge, they're unlimited, they're dynamic, are they not? Why are they that way? Because in Spirit, you're huge, you're dynamic, you're unlimited. Of course they are. Of course they're that way. And then they come through and they are perfect. Perfect. All right. The law of correspondence. What you ask for, the answer is in the energy. What you desire, the answer is in the energy. You cannot question something that doesn't exist. The idea and the answer are there. So perhaps we want to shift our question. The desire and the manifest are there. Perhaps we want to bring the divine back into it. How powerful would you literally be as God's child on the planet if we could keep these concepts in the front of our vision? I'm the chooser. I'm the chooser. All right, let's go with it. Father, Mother God, we ask that your light completely enfold us. We ask that your love fill us to overflowing. And I would invite each one of you just see a beautiful column of light come over you. And just imagine yourself in this space. And I want you just to let your focus to go to your heart. And feel that beautiful light inside. God is, I am, I choose. God is, I am, I choose. Feel the unique I am within you beginning to grow in light. Feel that love just beginning to emanate from all that you are. Father, Mother God, we thank you for this life. We feel gratitude in every cell of our bodies. And we feel our oneness. God is, I am, I choose. Feel the arc field expanding. Feel peace. Feel the love filling you. And know that you can choose again and again and again. Take a breath. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Your opportunity this week is to not only watch your I am affirmations, but also watch your questions. What am I calling for? Where do I want to stand? What do I want to experience? I am a child of God.
I am.
Yay, God.